Right now, somewhere in London, a nurse on her night break is putting her son to bed. The boy is in Manila, 7,000 miles away. The phone is propped against a coffee cup. She sings. He sleeps. She goes back to work.
And the strange part? Nothing about that feels strange anymore.
You've done a version of it. Everyone you know has. Tonight is about what that did to us. For almost all of human history, one thing decided nearly everything about you, where your body was. Where you stood determined who you knew, what you earned, who you married, what you believed, and how far your voice could reach. Distance wasn't a fact of life. It was the fact.
Give me a number on that.
Before the railways, most people lived and died within about 20 miles of where they were born. News traveled at the speed of a horse. A letter across the ocean took 2 months if it survived.
So every relationship was a bet on geography.
Everyone. Then in 1844, a man in Washington taps a message down a wire to Baltimore. What hath God wrought? And for the first time in history, information outruns the body. 14 years later, they drag a cable across the Atlantic floor. When the first message crosses, New York loses its mind. Fireworks, parades, City Hall nearly burns down from the celebration lights. And to feel what that cable actually ended, go to Ireland a few years earlier. When someone left for America, the village held a wake. A funeral for a living person. Because leaving was dying.
A funeral for someone standing in the room.
That is what distance meant for 10,000 years. Now hold that against the phone on the coffee cup.
Okay, pushback, and it's a strong one. Every generation since has declared distance dead. The telegraph people said it. Radio said it. The jet age said it. In 1997, an economist literally wrote a book called The Death of Distance.
Frances Cairncross, and she was more right than the others, and wrong in a way nobody expected. Hold that too. It's the turn.
Fine, but convince me this time is different. The burden of proof is on you.
2001. A surgeon in New York removes the gallbladder of a patient in Strasbourg, France. His hands move in Manhattan. The scalpel moves in France. She recovers fully.
The hands and the act, in 2 different countries.
The body stopped being where the action is. And it wasn't just medicine. Outside Las Vegas, there's an Air Force base called Creech. For years, crews there have flown armed missions on the other side of the planet. A pilot can fight a war for 8 hours and be home for dinner by 6.
I need a second with that one. Because that's not connection, is it? That's the opposite. That's making the most distant thing in the world feel like a desk job. The miles are gone, but the weight went with them.
Except it didn't. The researchers who studied those crews found something nobody predicted. Unusually high rates of trauma and moral injury. The distance disappeared for the weapon. It did not disappear for the conscience.
So fold the map all you want. Something in us still knows how far away things really are.
Remember that sentence, because in 2020, the fold stopped being exotic. In a single season, distance became policy. Offices, classrooms, weddings, funerals, the whole architecture of being there was rebuilt in software. In weeks. And for the nurse in London, none of this is a think piece. It's Tuesday. Researchers call it distance mothering. Millions of parents raising children through a screen, one time zone at a time.
Does it work? Honestly?
The studies say something painfully honest. The love transmits. The presence doesn't. Not fully. that children grow up loved and still describe a very specific kind of missing. Both things are true.
If you've ever felt that specific kind of missing stay, this is where it turns.
Now hold a paradox. We are more connected than any humans who have ever lived. And across the same decades, loneliness climbed until health agencies began calling it an epidemic. Did the connection cause the loneliness? That is genuinely unsettled. I won't sell you a causation the data doesn't own.
But something changed. Something structural.
Meanwhile, the places we built for proximity are emptying. Office towers at half occupancy. Downtowns redrawn. Work, the thing that organized cities for a century, quietly detached from address. And look at any dinner table. 6 people, 1 room, and half of them aren't there. They're in group chats in other cities, in arguments happening somewhere else. Present bodies, absent people.
The person next to you on the train can be 4,000 miles away, and someone 4,000 miles away can be the closest person in your life.
Which means proximity quietly changed owners. It used to belong to geography. Now it belongs to attention.
Season 1, Door 2. Whoever shapes attention decides what's near.
And attention is allocated by choice, yes, but also by feeds, by employers, by apps, by whoever designs the queue. Nearness has a new landlord.
So was she right? Cairncross? Is distance dead? Give me the turn.
She was right about the miles. Here's what nobody expected. Distance didn't die. It moved inside. We abolished geographic distance and discovered it was never the real one. The real distances were always emotional, and now they're naked, unmeasured in miles, unprotected by miles.
Because before, if someone felt far away, you had the miles to blame.
And now the miles are gone, and some people are still far away. The distance was never in the map. We just used the map to avoid looking at it.
That's why the nurse's son can feel her love from 7,000 miles. And a kid at a dinner table can't feel his father's from 3 feet.
Same century, same species, the new far and the new near, and not a mile between them.
The door this time is a revolving door. It never closes. It never opens. It just keeps turning. Everyone passing through, nobody arriving.
Next time, a civilization that never forgets anything. Every word you ever said kept. The memory that never forgets. Door 4. We didn't find the final answer today, and that's the honest part, but we found the door.
Now your question. Look up from this video for 1 second. Really? Who is the physically closest person to you right now? And are they the one who feels closest? Answer in the comments, honestly.
This was the brand door.